this, I hope you didn't take the job. If you already did, well, then maybe writing this will help you more than it helped me. My first shift started like any other gig app delivery. Nothing weird. Standard onboarding. 15-minute training video. A quick background check. And boom, access to 100 little pinpoints on a map blinking for food, flowers, medicine, whatever. But this company, RLY Deliver, it's different. I'd never heard of them before. But the ad popped up while I was scrolling late one night. Black background, red letters, work nights, high pay, must follow instructions. I signed up because I was desperate. Eviction notice taped to my door. Power about to get shut off. My old job at the gas station had cut my hours again. So I clicked apply. That same night, they sent me a branded windbreaker and a lanyard. No label on the box, just a post-it inside that said, "Read the rules before your first shift." Or don't. The rules were printed on glossy cardstock. No logo, no HR jargon, just 8 lines in all caps, typed in something that looked off, almost hand-drawn. Here they are, word for word. Do not make eye contact with the customer unless they initiate first. If a delivery is to Unit 4 in any building, knock 3 times, then leave. Do not wait for acknowledgement. If the delivery location appears to move on your GPS, ignore it and continue forward. It will stop. Eventually, you may see the same person more than once in different locations. Pretend you don't. Never. Under any circumstance. Accept a tip left in teeth. If you hear your own voice calling for help from behind a door, leave immediately. Deliveries scheduled between 3:15 are not to be questioned. Complete and forget. If you finish a shift and can't remember any of it, do not attempt to recall. Call the number written on the back of this card. The back of the card was blank. I stared at the rules longer than I should have. I thought it was a prank, a gimmick, viral marketing, or some Gen Z horror game launch. It wasn't. My first delivery came in at 12. 41. It buzzed my phone like any other job. Pick up. Silent noon noodles drop off. 131 Grigsby Lane. That address didn't show up on Apple Maps or Google, only in the RLY Deliver app. The route twisted once, twice, then set me down a narrow road I'd never noticed before. No streetlights, no signage, just a gravel curve winding into pitch-black woods behind a chain-link fence with a hole cut through it. I should have turned around. Instead, I tightened the lanyard around my neck, pulled the hood of my RLY Deliver windbreaker up, and kept driving. My headlights caught the mailbox. 131 painted in crude red strokes. The house itself looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Wood paneling rotting off the frame. No lights. Just a faint glow pulsing through the curtains in the second-story window. Like a slow heartbeat. Still, I walked up the steps, takeout bag in hand. I knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. The door opened on the 3rd. No one was there. Not on the porch. Not behind the threshold. Just warm air. Damp, smelling faintly of iron and wet wood. I set the food down on the welcome mat and backed away. That's when I saw the tip. Not cash. Not a card. Teeth. Human. As far as I could tell. 4 of them. Molars, maybe. Arranged in a neat little square beside the bag. I left them. Walked back to my car without turning around. The porch light flickered on just as I shut the door behind me. There was no porch light before. The app marked the job completed. I watched the payout hit my digital wallet. $85. 67. No surge pricing. No bonuses. Just exactly that amount. I stared at the total for a long time. until I realized I was parked back in front of my own apartment. I never remembered driving back. Didn't even notice the miles fly by. I went inside, undressed in the dark, and crawled into bed fully clothed. I must have fallen asleep because at 3:07 my phone buzzed again. Pick up. Unlabeled van rear door drop-off. 4A, Citadel Towers. I didn't even question it. I just got up, put the windbreaker back on, slipped the lanyard around my neck, and left. Know where Citadel Towers was, but the app did. No address, no city, no zip code, just a pulsing red dot where nothing should have been, right in the middle of an industrial district that's been dead since the late 90s. I drove without music, without sound. Even the GPS voice stayed silent. The only noise came from my tires on cracked asphalt, crunching over broken glass and the occasional scrap of metal that hadn't rusted away yet. When I turned onto the access road, I noticed the headlights didn't reach as far as they should. The darkness here felt different, dense, present. Citadel Towers stood at the end of the road like something that had grown upward from the earth, too tall, too narrow, with windows like staring eyes that hadn't blinked in decades. And at the base of it all, leaning against the side of a beat-up, windowless van, was a man in a red uniform, RLY deliver patch on his chest, lanyard, windbreaker, just like mine, except he wasn't moving. Pulled up slowly, rolled the window down halfway. "Hey," I called. No response. He just stared forward. Not at me, not at the building, just straight into the void. I got out. The app pinged. Pick up. One sealed crate. Do not open. Do not inspect. If crate breathes, ignore it. There it was in the back of the van. A single black crate. No bigger than a dog kennel, smooth as obsidian, with metal rivets and a leather-wrapped handle. I reached for it and stopped, because the crate pulsed, once like a heartbeat, and then again. My hand brushed the surface, and it was warm, not from the air, from within. The man beside the van still hadn't moved. I looked closer. His eyes weren't just vacant, they were reflecting not the van, not the night. Me, from every angle. My face, multiplied, distorted, staring back from both irises like infinity mirrors. I grabbed the crate and backed away. It was heavier than I expected. Not crushing, just full. As I turned toward the building, my phone buzzed again. Drop off. 4A. Use the service elevator. Do not use the stairs. I entered through a side door already unlocked. No security, no cameras, just flickering lights and tile floors soaked with some kind of red-gray grime. I found the elevator, metal doors, no buttons. Instead, a slot. I held my lanyard up to it. The doors creaked open like rusted jaws. Inside, a control panel with only two choices, G and 4A. I pressed 4A and immediately regretted it. The crate breathed. I swear to God, it exhaled long, shaky, and wet. I didn't put it down. The elevator rose, slowly, unnaturally, like it was being lifted by something alive. When the doors opened, I found myself in a hallway that felt wrong, too long, too narrow, and lined with dozens of apartment doors, but all numbered 4A, every single one. Identical bronze plaques, identical doormats, all slightly damp, all quiet. The app chimed. Deliver to the door that smells like smoke. Knock twice. Wait, then leave. I walked slowly, crate clutched to my chest, until I smelled it. Ash, char. Something burned, but not recent. Old. The door at the very end of the hall. I stepped up, knocked twice, waited. Nothing. Then, Something moved on the other side. Not footsteps, not breathing. Something heavy sliding across the floor. A scraping, wet sound. Then silence. I placed the crate down and backed away. The doorknob turned slowly and then stopped. I turned around and walked back to the elevator. I didn't run. I didn't speak. I just left. The elevator took me down faster than it had gone up. Almost too fast. My stomach dropped. My ears popped. And just before the doors opened, I swear I heard a voice whisper behind me, "See you next time." I drove home without checking the app. When I got in, the mirror in my bathroom was fogged over. No steam, no heat, just fog. I wiped it. My reflection blinked a second too late. I've quit after that second delivery. I really should have, but the payout hit my account before I even stepped through my front door. 312 Oz, 49, for one run. No confirmation, no tip, no client review, just the number glowing on my screen like an invitation or a dare. I didn't sleep. Not really. I laid there staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about the crate, about the whisper, about the way the hallway in Citadel Towers breathed like a living lung. At around 5:00 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Not the app. A text. No name, no number. Just this. You did well. The next one will test your memory. Follow the rules. That was it. No delivery request. No instructions. Just a statement. I deleted the text and went to shower. I needed to feel normal again. Human. But when I stepped into the steam, I caught something in the mirror. At first, I thought it was me. It wasn't. Same frame, same face, same hair. But the left side of the reflection's jaw sagged too low, like the bone beneath had been unhinged. Its smile was just too wide. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back at the mirror, it was just me again. But the fog lingered. So did the feeling. That day, I tried to live like it wasn't real. I walked to the corner store, grabbed a coffee, nodded at the barista like everything was fine. But I couldn't shake it. Everyone I passed looked too familiar. Not like déjà vu, like repetition. Same coat, same limp, same nervous glance, over and over. I stopped outside a bakery to tie my shoe and looked up to see the same woman walk past me twice in 30 seconds. Same bag, same hair, same mole under the eye. She didn't blink, didn't even breathe, just passed me, twice, perfectly mirrored. That's when the app buzzed. Pick up, locked Dropbox, corner of Hinton and Reeve. Code, Liminal 44. Drop off. 995 Selene Ave, side door only. I knew that intersection. It was 2 blocks from a condemned parking lot where they used to hold farmers markets before the rats took over. When I got there, the box was already waiting. A steel cube, bolted into the pavement, painted black, with a rusted keypad. I typed in 1144. The lid opened with a hiss. Inside, a package wrapped in burlap. Small, light, warm, and it was whimpering. Not loud, not human, but alive. The moment I touched it, I felt the pulse. Fast, like a bird's. Weak, like whatever was inside hadn't eaten in a while. I closed the lid and walked back to my car. I didn't want to know. I really didn't. But as I drove, the whimpering turned rhythmic, almost like breathing, matching mine. I tried to hum a song to block it out, and the parcel matched the melody. When I arrived at 905 Selene Ave, I nearly turned around. The house looked half collapsed, shingles missing, windows bricked up from the inside, the yard overgrown with weeds tall enough to hide full-grown deer. The app was insistent. Use the side door. Do not knock. Slide the package through the mail slot. If the door opens on its own run, There was no path around the house, so I pushed through waist-high thorns, holding the parcel like it might bite me if I slipped. The side door had no handle, just a slit at the bottom wide enough to shove the package through. I knelt, carefully, slowly, and just as I started to push it through, the door clicked. Not open, not all the way, just enough for me to hear what was behind it. Breathing, not from one thing, from many. Inhales and exhales, staggered and overlapping, like a choir that had never learned to sing. I froze. The app pinged again. If the door opens more than 3 inches, leave the package and run. The door creaked forward. 1 inch, 2. I shoved the parcel through and bolted. The breathing surged into something wet and frantic behind me. And I swear I heard a baby laugh followed by a whisper in my own voice. You brought it home. I didn't stop running until I was 3 blocks away. The payout hit before I caught my breath. 439. Ironert. That night, I took a knife from my kitchen and taped it under the driver's seat. Not for defense, for mercy, just in case. My 4th delivery came 3 days later. A break I didn't ask for. But when it came 3:00 am, sharp, it came with no pickup. Just a location. Come alone. Leave your phone behind. 3003 Kinzia. Only North Trailhead, Glen Ridge Nature Preserve. And under that, this delivery is not for them. It's for you. My phone on the kitchen table. It vibrated once as I closed the door behind me, lighting up with a new message. I didn't look at it. I knew better by now. I drove in silence. The radio wouldn't stay on. Every time I turned the dial, it jumped back to static. Not the fuzzy kind. This was wet static, like someone gurgling through a throat full of wires. The Glen Ridge Nature Preserve is supposed to be off limits at night. Park closes at sunset. But when I pulled into the trailhead at 2:56 am, the gate was open, and there were no cars, no rangers, no signs, just gravel under my tires and a single floodlight buzzing above the path entrance, flickering like it was struggling to stay in this reality. I parked, stepped out, and left the keys on the dashboard. Part of me expected to see someone waiting, maybe another delivery guy like the one outside the van. But the lot was empty. I checked my watch. 3:00 am, right on time. The trees swallowed the trail almost immediately. Whatever light the moon tried to give was smothered by branches that didn't seem to move with the wind. They breathed. I stepped onto the dirt path, and the temperature dropped. The sound, too. No bugs, no birds, not even leaves rustling. Just my footsteps, and a rhythm faint, distant, like drums. No direction, no echo, just presence, a little deeper in. I found the first sign, not official, not wood or metal. A strip of skin stretched between 2 trees like a banner. Written across it in something too dark to be ink. No tipping, no talking, no tracking. I kept walking. 15 minutes in, I found the delivery bag, sitting dead center in a clearing. RLY Deliver branded, unzipped, inside, a mask, animal skull, ram-shaped, carved with spirals that moved when I stared too long. It pulsed in my hands. There was a note tucked beneath it. Same cardstock as the rules. Same strange handwriting. Put it on. Walk until you find yourself. Do not remove the mask until the drumming stops. I hesitated. Then I slipped it over my head. The world changed instantly. The forest got louder. I don't mean volume. I mean there was more of it. More trees. More paths. More things moving just out of sight. Everything was closer. And the drumming. Louder now. In my chest. My skull. I stumbled forward. Disoriented. trying not to focus on the way the eye holes distorted everything I saw. It felt like I was being followed, but not stalked, mirrored. I don't know how long I walked, time bent under the weight of the drums, but eventually I saw it. A figure standing at the center of another clearing, wearing my clothes, my jacket, my face, but they weren't moving. They stood still, arms out, like they were inviting me to trade places. And behind them was a door, freestanding, no walls, just a frame and a black surface where wood should have been. The drum stopped. I reached for the mask, pulled it off. The figure vanished. The door remained. It opened before I touched it, and behind it, I saw myself lying on the ground, back at the trailhead, eyes closed, face calm, not sleeping, not breathing, just paused, like a saved file waiting to be loaded. I stepped through and woke up in my car. Exactly. My hands were dirty, mud under the nails, scratches up my arms. But no blood, no bruises, just exhaustion. I didn't question it, didn't look for the mask, didn't check the trail. I started the car, drove home, and found Rule 9 taped to my front door. It wasn't there before. I hadn't seen it anywhere in the packet. Just a scrap of that same thick, glossy paper, written in the same all-caps ink. No, if you ever meet yourself, let them speak first. If they don't run, there was something else scrawled underneath in red. You were lucky this time. Get any deliveries the next night, or the night after that. The app stayed silent, but I knew it wasn't over. The rules don't end at Rule 9. They never do. They just get harder to notice. The next message came through a receipt taped to the bottom of a pizza box I hadn't ordered. I found it outside my door at 2:03 still hot, grease soaking through the cardboard like a heartbeat. No label, no delivery driver, just a receipt. Dest, if food ever arrives that you didn't order, do not eat it, burn it, and stay inside until sunrise. I threw the whole box into the sink and lit it with a match. It screamed, not loud, not human, a soft, strangled thank you. The smell was like burning sugar and bile. That was the first night I heard the voices under the floor. They whisper in tones you can't quite place, male, female, old, young, always talking just below your comprehension, like your brain almost understands the language, but your soul refuses to. I covered the vents with duct tape. Didn't help. They're not coming through the vents. They're under the floorboards, waiting. My next delivery came 5 days later. I thought they were done with me. I hoped. I was wrong. Pickup. Storage locker 309B drop-off. 662N. Grand Ave. Delivery window. 2. 22. To 2. 27. Only there was a note attached. If anyone else is inside the unit when you arrive, do not acknowledge them. Do not listen. Do not answer. Do not remember. The storage facility was 20 minutes outside the city. Massive. Empty. Like a warehouse graveyard. I entered through the side gate the app had unlocked it remotely, and followed the yellow arrows painted on the ground, each one older and more faded than the last. Like they'd been repainted over and over for people who never came back. I parked at 3B. A keypad waited beside the roll-up door. I punched in the code, 2227. The door hissed and lifted about halfway. I ducked under. Inside, pitch black, but I could smell it. Pine, blood, rain. The light flicked on after a few seconds, buzzing fluorescent. The locker was empty, except for one thing, a mirror, 6 feet tall, oval, standing on its own frame, covered in a sheet. I knew what they wanted me to deliver. I also knew what was under the sheet. I didn't want to look, but I did. Of course I did. I pulled it back slowly and saw myself. But not now me. Not today. This version was older. Eyes sunken, skin pale, lips cracked, with something red smeared across the jaw like war paint. He didn't move, but his reflection was breathing. His chest rose and fell, slow and heavy, and then he blinked. Twice. The sheet dropped on its own, and the lights went out. I stood still, long enough for my brain to decide whether to panic or freeze. I chose panic. I fumbled for my phone, but the app lit up on its own. Move. Clock is ticking. So I grabbed the mirror cold, but not heavy, and wheeled it out. The light from the hallway flickered on behind me, just as the reflection moved again. This time, it smiled. Not cruel, not kind, just patient. I drove to 662N, Grand Ave, with the mirror belted into my passenger seat, like it might try to leave if I didn't restrain it. The address was an old dental office, closed for years. The kind with wallpaper peeling inside and a dead neon sign in the window still flickering faintly despite no power. The door opened when I approached. I didn't knock. No one told me to. Inside, the air was sterile and damp, like something had tried to clean up after something else. Reception desk, chairs, toys scattered on the floor that looked newer than they should have. I pushed the mirror to the back hallway. There were 3 exam rooms, each marked with a Roman numeral. I do. 3. The app pinged. Room 2. Leave the mirror facing the window. Do not turn around until you hear the door shut. I entered. The room was empty except for an old dental chair and a blacked-out window with a faint red glow behind it, like an eclipse was happening just outside. I positioned the mirror, turned it slowly so it faced the glow. Then I stood very still and waited. The door behind me creaked, opened, and stayed open. For a long time, I heard breathing. Not mine, not behind me, from the mirror. From inside the glass, the breathing grew faster, higher, until it wasn't breathing at all. It was giggling, childlike, unnatural. Then silence. Then the door shut, hard. I turned. The room was empty. The mirror was gone. In its place, another card, plain white, same handwriting. Rule 11. Mirrors are not meant to be transported. If you deliver one, never watch the place you left it. I blinked and found myself back in my car. No memory of the walk. The app marked it complete. I looked at my hands. There was glass dust on my fingertips, and in the rearview mirror, for a second, I saw myself smile, but I wasn't smiling. Something wrong with my reflection now. It's subtle, just a half-second lag when I move. Like the person on the other side of the mirror is watching me to copy, not echo. It only happens when I'm alone. But that's the part that really messes with me. I don't think I've been alone since the mirror job. I keep hearing little movements behind me. The sound of bare feet on tile, breath that isn't mine. And I swear something small scurries under the furniture every time I shut the lights off. I started sleeping with the TV on, volume low, like background static would drown it out. It doesn't. 2 nights after the mirror job, I heard whispering again, this time in the bathroom. I opened the door slowly. Pitch black. Then the faucet turned on by itself. A single line of red water poured out, thick and slow. I flicked the light on nothing. No color, no sound, just clean water and a mirror fogged over with breath. I wrote a word with my finger. Stop. The mirror wrote back, you're still delivering. The next job came in like normal. A chime from the app. No flair, no drama, just the request. Pick up. Red mailbox. Ravel and 5th. Drop off. Unknown. Await instructions mid-route. package without a destination. Just my kind of nightmare. I found the mailbox easily enough. It was the only one that pulsed faintly in the dark, like a weak heartbeat. No number, just a strip of meat-colored tape over the front that said, "For you." Inside was a black envelope, heavier than paper should be, sealed with wax shaped like an open eye. I took it, didn't open it. My fingers itched the entire drive. 10 minutes later, the app buzzed again. Do not open the letter. Delivered to the person standing at the corner of Welch and Midland. They will not speak. You must say the phrase exactly. I carry what you forgot. If they respond, do not answer. Hand over the envelope and leave. When I turned onto Midland, I saw her immediately. Girl in a white dress, barefoot, back to me. Her hair hung over her face like it was hiding from something she'd already seen. She was standing in the middle of the sidewalk like she'd been rooted there. I parked, got out. The street was silent. Even the air felt afraid to move. I approached slowly. She didn't turn, didn't twitch, just breathed in time with the pulsing envelope in my hand. I stood behind her and said it. I carry what you forgot. She shivered, then nodded. Her hand came up slowly, palm open. I placed the envelope there and turned to walk away, but she whispered, "It's not yours anymore." I didn't look back. I didn't breathe until I was in the car. Doors locked, engine running. The app pinged. No payout, just one word, memory. Later that night, I checked my wallet and found a photograph I didn't recognize. Me, asleep in my bed, taken from inside the room. The window in the background was shut. The bedroom door, open. Whoever took it had been standing where the mirror used to be. I flipped it over. Rule 12. If a delivery changes your memory, do not resist. Do not ask who you were. What was forgotten was given. I haven't slept since. Not really. Just blackouts. Flickers. I wake up in different positions. Sitting on the floor. Kneeling by the sink. Once I found myself standing in the hallway. Door wide open, whispering a phrase I couldn't remember the moment I stopped saying it. And there's something else. I've started recognizing other couriers. It's in the eyes. The way they don't meet yours. The way they hesitate near reflective surfaces. The way they never speak first. One passed me in a gas station yesterday. He dropped a card when he walked by. I picked it up. Just a phrase. Handwritten in dark ink. They deliver us to... I turned to find him, but he was gone. I checked the cooler mirror near the sodas. And for a moment, I wasn't in it. The next job didn't come through the app. It came through a knock. 2. Historia. 3 quick knocks. Then silence. I checked the peephole. Nothing. Just the hallway. But taped to the outside of my door was a new card. Rule 13. Not typed. Not printed. Carved. Like someone had scratched it into raw bark and painted over it in ash. Rule 13. If the delivery comes for you, accept it. Whatever shape it takes. Whatever it brings. You owe them that much. Underneath was a package. Wrapped in wax paper, tied with red twine. My name written across it in something that smelled like rust and lemon. I stared at the package for an hour before I touched it. It just sat there on my doormat, wrapped in that greasy, waxy paper. The red twine tied too tight, like someone wanted to make sure whatever was inside wouldn't get out. But I knew better. It wasn't for keeping things in. It was about keeping me out. The name written on top. My name wasn't written with ink. It shimmered under the hallway light, like it had been dragged through bone dust and old blood. And yet, I picked it up. It was warm. It breathed in my hands. Not a full inhale. No rise and fall. Just a pulse. Something like a heartbeat, but uneven. Like it hadn't quite remembered how to be alive. The moment I brought it inside, my apartment changed. Barely, but enough. The overhead light dimmed without flickering. The air thickened, like every corner of the room suddenly had weight, and the silence, that usual late-night hum, was gone. Total quiet, not peaceful, predatory. The package went on the kitchen table. I sat across from it like it might speak. Part of me didn't want to open it. Part of me knew I already had. I waited until 3:00 That's when the red twine unraveled on its own. One long loop, unwinding like it had just remembered its job. The wax paper peeled back slow, not like someone unwrapping a gift, more like a wound being reopened. Inside, a box, no markings, no latch, no hinges, just a box of white wood, grain spiraling inward like a whirlpool, and a note. Delivery complete. Thank you for carrying us. I didn't understand. Not until I touched the box. Then I remembered her. Not a girlfriend, not a sister, but mine. That's all I could place. She existed in my memory like a name half erased from a headstone. We had shared something, a room, a night, a choice. I remembered walking with her down an unlit hallway. Both of us carrying something wrapped in towels. Both of us crying, but not making a sound. I remembered a door. Not mine, not hers, just the door. I remembered knocking, then darkness, then her face. When the door opened, and she was alone. Because I had let them take her. Because I had handed her off. That was my first delivery, and I'd forgotten it until now. I dropped the box. It didn't hit the table. It didn't fall. It just wasn't in my hands anymore. It had vanished the moment the memory returned, as if that was its entire purpose, to remind, and it worked, because now, I don't just remember her, I remember why the job chose me. I wasn't hired, I was reclaimed. Later that night, I caught my reflection blinking again, but it blinked before I did, and smiled. That same patient smile, like it was glad I was catching up. My phone buzzed. No notification, just the screen lighting up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Her name, the one I'd forgotten. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The screen cracked as soon as I touched it. Not shattered, split. One single fracture down the middle like a surgical cutty. Inside the crack, darkness, and something moving just beneath the glass. The app opened on its own at 4. Final pickup. Your building, sub-basement, Unit 3. Bring nothing. Leave no lights on. There is no sub-basement in my building. There are 2 levels of parking. That's it. But when I stepped into the stairwell, I saw the door. 3 painted on it in fresh black strokes, still dripping. The air behind that door wasn't cold. It was hungry. I went. Of course I did. I followed the steps down, each one creaking like it was remembering a time before me. The walls grew narrower. The light dimmed until it was just a red glow leaking up from somewhere below. The door at the bottom wasn't locked, just waiting. I opened it, and inside was my next delivery, or maybe my first. It was a mirror, but this one was different. Not oval, not tall. It was full length, like the kind you'd lean against a closet wall. And inside, not me, her, the girl I'd forgotten, older now, still crying, still holding the bundle wrapped in towels. Her lips moved, and though I couldn't hear the words, I could feel them in my bones. It was supposed to be you. Then she held the bundle out toward the glass, and it pressed through. The mirror flexed like skin, rippling as something emerged, slow, wet, trembling. I stepped back. The thing that came through was me. Not now me, not even then me. Something in between, twisting, smiling, and carrying the bundle. I watched it stand up, brush off its jacket, and walked past me, climbing the stairs without a glance. I turned to follow, but the mirror had closed, and my reflection was gone. Got back to my apartment. Everything had changed. Nothing looked different, not really, but it all felt off, like someone had taken my home and recreated it from memory, but missed the details that matter. The exact creak of the floor by the fridge, the way my socks always stick to the warped tile in the bathroom, the sound the heater makes when it kicks on, always one sharp click and a low hum. Now it clicks twice and hums in a different key. There was something else, too. The air. It smelled like a memory I couldn't place. Like childhood, but wrong. Warm cereal, rain on hot pavement, wet wool, and faintly, underneath it all, rot. The mirror in the hallway no longer showed my reflection. Not just wrong timing or weird angles, nothing. Just the hallway behind me, but empty. When I waved, nothing waved back. When I leaned in, there was no face. It was like the mirror didn't recognize me anymore. Or maybe it did. And it didn't want me to see what I looked like now. I didn't sleep. At exactly 2:06 Amat, I got the next notification. Except it wasn't from the app. It was from the cracked phone I'd thrown in a drawer 2 nights ago. Screen shattered, battery dead, no SIM, but it buzzed. One ping, one message from a sender called The Carrier. Your next delivery is personal. You're not carrying it. You're following it. Leave now. No address, no map, just instinct. I threw on the windbreaker. The lanyard was already around my neck. I didn't remember putting it there. The streets were empty. Even the rats were quiet. I walked without knowing where I was going, until I saw it. A figure, distant, moving down the sidewalk with a slow, mechanical gait, wearing a jacket like mine, holding a parcel wrapped in burlap and twine. I knew, without question, they were me. Not a doppelganger, not a hallucination, a delivery I hadn't made yet. I followed. They didn't turn, didn't look back, just walked block after block, crossing into neighborhoods I'd only ever driven past. Old buildings, cracked pavement, and finally, a cul-de-sac with only one house. Tall, rotten, leaning slightly to the left. It didn't fit the street, it didn't fit anywhere. The front door was open. Delivery me stepped inside. I followed. Inside, the walls pulsed like lungs. Wallpaper peeled in time with the rhythm of a heart I couldn't hear but could feel. The floorboards were soft underfoot, not with water, with give, like muscle. The air smelled like forgotten birthdays and burned hair, and in the center of the room, set atop a table covered in teeth and candle wax, was the parcel. My double was gone. No sign of them ever having existed. Just the package. And another rule. Handwritten. This time in my handwriting. Rule 14. When you deliver yourself, don't forget to leave something behind. Otherwise, you'll come back. I backed away. The room darkened. I heard the stairs creak behind me. Slow steps coming down. Whoever it was didn't rush, didn't sneak. They wanted me to hear, to anticipate. The door slammed shut on its own. And then, the candle flames flared up, and I saw what was coming down the stairs. It was me, but not like before. This version had no face, just a smooth surface where features should have been. A delivery uniform stretched too tightly over a frame that moved like it was still figuring out how bones worked. In its hands, a cracked mirror. It held it out to me. A gift, a threat, a reminder. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I just stood there, frozen, until the mirror began to tremble. The glass fogged up, and words appeared written from the other side. You never left. And below that, you still owe us. I blinked, and I was standing outside again, alone. No house, no figure, no parcel, just the sound of wind and the faint smell of burlap and blood clinging to my hands. When I got home, the door was already open. The lights were off. The apartment was colder than it had ever been, and on the floor, right where my reflection used to stand, was a new rule card. This one was torn, smudged, like someone had tried to burn it, but changed their mind halfway through. Rule 15. When they start delivering to you, stop keeping track of the rules. By then, you're not a courier. You're a route. Underneath it, scrawled in red crayon, someone else is carrying you now. To think I was the one making the deliveries, but now I'm sure of something worse. I've been the package all along. The app hasn't buzzed in 2 nights, but I keep ending up in places I don't remember driving to. I wake up in stairwells, alleys, rooftops once, face down on the welcome mat of a boarded-up motel with a note pinned to my chest. Delivered. Please rate your experience. There was a single star drawn in marker. Next to it, a question mark. My memories come in pieces now, like old Polaroids soaked in bleach. They flash out of sequence. 1 minute, I'm at my kitchen sink. Next, I'm watching myself from across the street, standing in my window, unmoving, smiling. Last night, I tried to break the cycle. I left the jacket behind, burned the lanyard in the tub, logged out of the app, deleted it, then smashed the phone into a dozen jagged shards. Didn't matter. At 3:33 I blinked, and I was in uniform again, standing in front of a door. I'd never seen it before, but I knew exactly what I was delivering. I was holding it. Me, or some version of me, tied at the wrists, mouth sewn shut, eyes wide open and wet with recognition. The parcel wasn't moving, but it was awake, and I was holding him over my shoulder like a sack of laundry. The door in front of me creaked open. A man stood there, tall, hollow-looking, wearing a delivery uniform without a name tag. He looked down at the bundle I carried, then up at me, smiled, and stepped aside. I entered without question. The house inside was endless, room after room of others like me, some walking in circles, some curled into corners with delivery bags over their heads. And in one room, stacked from floor to ceiling, mirrors, each one with a person behind it, trapped in glass, pounding to get out. One looked exactly like me. One was me, but he had no eyes, just black sockets that blinked anyway. I dropped the bundle my double onto a pile of others. Their mouths were sewn shut too, but not to keep them silent, to keep them from saying the wrong names. The man who opened the door clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You're doing good work," he said. "We never stop moving. Not once." His voice sounded like mine, but deeper, used up. He pressed something cold into my palm. A phone. My phone. Unbroken. Fully charged. The app had reinstalled itself. The screen blinked once, and a new delivery lit up. No address, just a label. Home. I woke up on my couch. Lights off. TV hissing static. My phone on my chest. Screen dimmed, but still pulsing with that word. Home. I tapped it. The route opened. It showed a place I hadn't seen in years. My parents' house, or what was left of it. I hadn't been back since it burned down. Since the accident. Since the night I forgot who I was supposed to save. I got in the car. Didn't pack a bag. Didn't lock the door behind me. Because somehow, I knew I wasn't coming back the same way. The drive was long. Too long. The map rerouted 7 times. Each road took me further into nowhere, through small towns with missing people, posters stapled to rotted telephone poles. Each face looked familiar. Each smile matched my own. I stopped at a diner for gas. There was no one there, just a bell that rang when I walked in, and a menu that read, "Today's special. You." I left without touching anything. When I finally reached the old property, it looked different. Rebuilt. Clean, fresh paint. Lights on in the windows. Like nothing had happened. But something had... I walked up the steps. Before I could knock, the door swung open. A little boy stood there. He looked up at me, eyes wide, said, "You're late." I opened my mouth, but the words weren't mine. "I brought it," I said. He stepped aside. I walked in. There was no furniture, just walls covered in delivery route maps, receipts, photographs, all of me, thousands of me. Me on bikes, me on foot, me covered in blood, me staring blankly through mirrored glass, me aging, regressing, fragmenting. In the center of the room was a single package, plain, cardboard, untaped, labeled simply, "Open last." I walked to it, sat cross-legged in front of it like a child on Christmas morning, and opened it. Inside, another rule card, one I hadn't seen before. Rule 16, if your route brings you home, remember you're not delivering to a house, you're delivering to a time. And time always takes more than you give. Underneath the card was a small toy truck, burned on one side, still warm. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there as the boy walked over, picked up the toy, and whispered, "Thanks for bringing him back," and disappeared. Just like that, gone. The lights went out, and I was alone, with nothing but the phone in my hand, blinking again. A new label, one word, "Return." All the app said, no address, no instructions, just that word, pulsing on the screen like a command I had already obeyed before reading it. I stood in the middle of the empty house for what felt like hours, waiting for the lights to come back on. They didn't, but outside, something was waiting. Not someone, something. A vehicle, black, long, stretched like it was drawn in charcoal and smudged at the edges, was idling by the curb. It had no headlights, no driver visible, but the passenger door clicked open with a soft hiss, inviting me in. I should have run, but when your whole life's been a route, and the only thing that makes sense is the next stop, you don't run, you ride. The interior was hollow, no seats, no dashboard, just walls lined with reflectionless glass and a floor that pulsed underfoot like a living tongue. The second I stepped inside, the door closed. No window, no light, only me and the package. Because there it was now resting at my feet. Plain, brown, wrapped in heavy twine. I hadn't brought it in, but it was mine. I could feel it. I bent down, ran my hand across the surface. It was warm, not from the air, from what it remembered. And written across it, in messy, shuddering ink, "Deliver to yourself." I held it the whole ride. No sense of time, no landmarks, just motion that never turned, never slowed, never stopped until it did. The door opened. The outside was darkness, thick, slow, pressing in from every angle. But I knew where I was. My apartment, except not quite. The hall smelled like rain and blood. My number on the door was written in chalk, not metal, and the door itself was open, only slightly, like it had been waiting. I stepped in. Everything was reversed, not metaphorically, literally. Left was right. The kitchen faced the opposite direction. The bathroom door opened toward the living room. The light switches were upside down, and standing in the center of it all was me, but not like before. This one was tired, not beaten, not damaged, just done. He looked at me, not surprised, just patient, like he'd been expecting this for a long time. I held the package out. He didn't move. So I said it. I have something for you. He nodded. Once, and then did something I still don't understand. He stepped into me, not walked, merged, like we were water and time and memory. The moment it happened, the apartment split, not physically, chronologically. One half frozen in childhood warmth, the smell of pancakes and sun through dirty blinds. The other half decaying, rotting into mold and shadow. I stood between them, holding the package that was no longer warm. It was glowing, and then, shaking, I opened it. Inside was a VHS tape, black, no label, and a folded photograph. I unfolded it slowly. It was me, and the girl, her. We were sitting on the curb outside a burning house, arms around each other, watching something fall apart behind us. In the photo, she was smiling. I wasn't. On the back, scrawled in my handwriting, the first time you delivered yourself. She wasn't supposed to be home. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the tape. But I didn't. I turned around and the apartment now had a TV. Old. Static. Waiting. I fed the tape in. The screen flared, and I watched it all. I watched me walk up to the door, late at night, holding a bundle. I watched her answer. Confused, smiling, welcoming. I watched myself push past her, eyes blank, following the app's instructions. I walked straight to the back room, opened the closet, pulled up a hidden floorboard. I placed something down there, not the bundle. The app, the phone, the lanyard, the rules. I buried them. Then I turned to leave, and she was there, asking where I'd been, crying. But I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was already gone. The tape ended. The screen turned blue. The TV hissed, and then my phone buzzed one last time. New delivery, no location, no instructions, just you. I knew what it meant. I wasn't delivering to someone else anymore. I was the destination. And when I turned to the mirror on the far wall, the one that hadn't existed moments earlier, I saw them, all of them. The other me's, stacked behind the glass, all staring, all holding identical packages, and all smiling. As they knocked, 3 times. Knocks, not on the door, on the mirror. The kind of knock that doesn't echo, doesn't bounce, just lands like a heartbeat pressed against glass. It was them, me, dozens, maybe hundreds of versions of myself, stacked behind that reflection, each holding a different version of the same package. Some of them smiled, some wept, a few just stared like they'd been staring for so long they forgot why. And then they all lifted their hands in perfect sync and knocked again, 3 times. The rules didn't say anything about this. Nothing about what to do when you become your own destination. Nothing about mirrors that knock back. But part of me knew the answer, because it was already moving. My legs walking toward the glass, my hands lifting the final package, my breath sinking with the static buzz humming behind the surface. I placed the box against the mirror. The reflection didn't mimic me. It received it. The other me on the other side reached through the glass and took it, like the barrier had always just been for show. He nodded and mouthed something. Go back. I blinked, and the mirror was gone. The TV was gone. The apartment was back to how it used to be, empty. Still, except for one thing. My delivery jacket folded neatly on the couch, and underneath it, a fresh rule card, not burned, not smudged, crisp, clean, like it had been waiting for the right moment. Rule 17. When your reflection completes your route, you become the mirror. Stay still. Watch closely. They're on their way. My hands trembled, not out of fear, out of recognition. I was now a checkpoint, a part of someone else's route. I didn't leave the apartment for 3 days. Didn't sleep. Did indeed. Just waited. For a knock. For a sign. For someone to appear in the hallway wide-eyed, sweating, clutching a familiar box and scanning for their drop-off. And sure enough, on the third night, just after 3:00 Imi, he came, a young man, pale, frazzled, wearing an oversized RLY Deliver windbreaker with no patch. He didn't look at me, he looked through me, and I understood. He couldn't see me, not directly. I was the mirror now. He stepped inside the apartment, clutching the parcel tight. I wanted to warn him, wanted to shout, to tell him to leave before it was too late. But mirrors don't speak, they reflect. So I stayed quiet, watched him place the package on the counter, watched him open it slowly, watched him collapse the moment he saw what was inside. A photo of himself delivering a box to a burning house, just like I had. He shook, fell to his knees, and began whispering a name I couldn't hear. Then, without warning, he stood and walked out, didn't look back, didn't take the package. He was empty now. Another carrier. The door slammed shut behind him, and the apartment was quiet again. For a while. Then came my turn. The app buzzed on its own. No new job, no payout, just a message. You've completed 99 deliveries. Final drop-off approaching. Return to Origin. Origin. I knew what that meant, where that meant. Not a place, not really. A moment. The first delivery. The one I forgot, until it forced itself back into me like a bad memory with a knife. I took nothing with me. No phone, no keys. Just the jacket and the package, wrapped in waxy paper, twine fraying at the ends, the label already smudged with my fingerprints. There was no address written on it this time, only. For her, I walked, didn't call a ride, didn't need to. The streets bent for me now, the city folding in on itself, like it remembered where I needed to go. Back to the woods, back to that altar, back to where she was taken. The trees had grown taller since last time, or maybe I had shrunk. The trail wound tighter, the moon hung heavier, but the altar was the same. Stone, cold, cracked, waiting. I placed the package on top. No ceremony, no words, just surrender. And from the woods, something stirred. A shape, a shadow, a silence that walked on legs. It stepped out into the clearing, and I saw her, but not as I remembered. Older, stronger, eyes full of something ancient. She picked up the package, held it to her chest, nodded once, and said, "You're late," then turned and vanished. I stood there until dawn, until the altar grew warm with sun, until the weight in my chest lifted, just enough to breathe. And when I walked back down the path, I didn't feel hunted, not yet, but I could hear footsteps behind me. Soft, echoed, familiar. Another carrier, another reflection, following their route. That once you complete 100 deliveries, you get to stop. That's a lie. The truth is, once you hit 100, you stop being a person who delivers. You become the thing that gets delivered. I was back at my apartment or something, wearing the shape of it. When the counter hit 100, the app didn't buzz. No ping. The screen just flashed one word. Received. I felt it in my chest, like something heavy had just arrived inside me. For the first time in days, I slept, if you can call it that. The kind of sleep where you're aware the whole time, trapped behind your eyes, watching yourself dream about being awake. I dreamt I was a hallway, endless, dim, lined with doors. Behind each one, a piece of me I'd left behind on the route. A hand, still gripping the lanyard from Job 11. A face I didn't recognize, but felt like mine. A memory, screaming behind glass. A jacket, nailed to a door, soaked in mirror water. And at the end of the hallway, a mirror, of course. But this time, the reflection wasn't me. It was her, the girl I lost, the one I'd tried to forget, the one I'd delivered away. She was standing in the frame, holding a new parcel. This one wasn't wrapped, just a box, cardboard, unsealed. Inside me, folded neatly, tied with string, labeled for them. I woke up gasping. Something was in my throat. I coughed it up into the sink. It was a piece of paper, soaked, wrinkled, but still legible. A rule, not printed, not typed, tattooed. Rule 18. When they start using you for parts, stop asking where the packages go. You'll only remember things you can't carry. I didn't leave the apartment for hours. I waited, watched the walls. They were breathing now, not visibly, but I could feel it, like the building itself was prepping for delivery. Like I was the package now, at 3. Sorsei M. Someone knocked. I didn't answer. They didn't leave. They just slipped something under the door. A Polaroid. Ulfma, taken from across the room. In the photo, I was sleeping. But I haven't slept since I woke up from the hallway. So either I was still dreaming, or someone else was wearing me. The next ping from the app didn't give me a delivery. It gave me an address. Unit access beneath the floor. That's all. No directions. No context. But somehow, I knew exactly where it was. Under the fridge. That's where the hatch had always been. I didn't remember it until it opened on its own. A square cut into the tile, revealing a staircase carved from concrete and rust. The smell hit me first, old mail, burned paper, wet teeth. I descended. The stairs weren't built for people. They bent too sharply, too uneven, like they were assembled by someone who remembered stairs but never walked them. At the bottom, Unit U, a door of skin-colored leather, stitched at the edges with hair. My lanyard buzzed. It was glowing. One final rule pulsed across the screen. Rule 19. To exit the route, you must become the final destination. Let yourself be delivered. Unpack what remains. I opened the door. Inside, an empty room. No furniture, just a single chair, facing a mirror. And on the chair, me, or something that used to be me. It was hollowed out, no eyes, no mouth, just shape, outline. Uniform still clean, and it stood up, reached toward me. I didn't run, because I understood now. The deliveries weren't about packages. They were about pieces. Every job, every item, every memory I left behind, they were collecting me, distributing me over and over, until only the route remained. The reflection spoke before I could. You made it, it said. Its voice wasn't mine, not anymore, but familiar. You took the long way. Most don't make it past 40. I swallowed. What now? It smiled. You get sorted. Then it reached into its own chest, fingers sinking through uniform and skin, and pulled out a small black box, labeled Fragile, contains purpose. It handed it to me, and I took it. The box trembled in my hands, not violently, just enough to feel alive. The reflection stepped back, vanished into the mirror, leaving me alone. In the chair, with the box, I opened it. Inside, instructions for a route I hadn't seen before. A loop, an infinite delivery, self-sustaining, and at the bottom of the card, congratulations, you've been promoted. The last thing the reflection said, before it disappeared into the mirror, before the walls of Unit O began to close in like lungs collapsing, before the box in my lap began to pulse like a second heart. A promotion, that's what they called it, but promotions usually come with clarity, or escape. This one came with instructions. Not even written ones, etched right into my skin. I pulled back my sleeve. On my forearm, where there should have been scars from every scratch and burn and cut this job ever gave me, there was now a map, not of streets, of people, their names, their roles, their roots, their fates, and in the center, where all the lines converged, was a word carved so deeply I could feel it under my bones. You! The walls didn't collapse. They unfolded, and I stepped out, not back into my apartment, not into the world I knew, but into a facility, all white, sterile, humming with the faint sound of static electricity. Rows of figures stood shoulder to shoulder, each one wearing the uniform, our uniform, only their name tags were blank. I reached for mine. It was gone. In its place, a black patch that said only Courier Origin. One of the figures turned. No face, but its head tilted as if it was smiling. It handed me a clipboard. On it, a single name, one I recognized. Her. I opened my mouth to speak, but a voice came from nowhere, from everywhere. Congratulations. You've been assigned a route. You're first as manager. Your new job is to train the reflection that replaced you. My throat tightened. What do you say to that? What do you say when your life has been split into fragments, delivered to strangers, and now you're being told to deliver someone else? I looked into the glass wall that ran along the room's side, and I saw her, alone, crying, still clutching the toy truck from the burned house, waiting. For me, I ran through the rows of uniforms, through doors that opened before I touched them, out into the black halls behind it, all the back rooms of the route, the infrastructure behind delivery, the machinery behind memory, and the walls there pulsed not with light, but with faces pressed into the wallpaper, begging, smiling, mouthing words I couldn't hear, until I found the one door that wasn't labeled, just scratched on with a fingernail. For her, inside, a bedroom, hers, frozen in time, down to the creases in the bed sheets, the stuffed animals arranged just so, the night light flickering a weak orange glow. She was sitting on the bed, head down, still, breathing. Next to her, the package, already delivered, already opened, and she looked up. Her eyes were mine, but younger, fresher, untouched. Why didn't you come sooner? She asked. I couldn't answer, because anything I said would be a lie. Because the truth is, I'd forgotten I was ever supposed to. She stood, walked toward me, held out the truck. It was burned, but whole. You left this. I nodded, took it from her hands. It felt heavier now, like memory, like guilt that solidified into weight. She looked up at me one last time. Are you ready to go back now? I hesitated. Back where? Her eyes dimmed, then narrowed. Don't you know? And she pulled the door shut behind me. I blinked, and I was back in the truck, passenger seat this time. Someone else was driving. They never turned, never spoke, just reached over and handed me a new package. My name was on it, in blood, in dust, in charcoal. It didn't matter. I took it. The truck kept driving, and out the window, I saw the world unraveling. Neighborhoods looped in on themselves, doorways leading into different lives, reflections walking ahead of their owners, couriers delivering pieces of themselves to hollow people, hoping to remember who they used to be. We pulled up to a house, my house, not the apartment, the childhood house, back when everything made sense, before the rules, before the lanyard, before the mirror. The driver opened the door. I stepped out, and standing at the doorstep was me, but younger, wide-eyed, no scars, still whole. I handed him the box. He took it without hesitation. "Thank you," he said. "Then, I'll remember you now." And he closed the door. Inside that box were all the things I lost. My voice, my name, my purpose, my guilt, her. And now someone else gets to carry it. Because this is how the system works. You carry until you're carried. You deliver until you're delivered. You forget until someone remembers you. This is gone now. Not lost, delivered. That matters. That's the difference. Losing something is an accident. Delivering it is a choice. Or maybe that's what they want you to believe. Maybe that's the only way to survive the guilt. I stood there on the lawn, outside the childhood home I barely remembered, and watched the younger version of me close the door. He had the package now, the burden, the inheritance, and he didn't ask what was inside. He just carried it into the dark like I had. Like every courier does. Like we're all born into a route we'll never understand until it's far too late. When I turned back to the truck, it was gone. No engine, no headlights, no road, just blacktop that faded into nothing, like the world had shrunk to this moment and this patch of dying grass. I checked my hands. No lanyard, no jacket, no app. I was empty again. And yet, I knew I wasn't done, because something was still pulling me forward. A route doesn't end just because you make the final delivery. Sometimes, you become the next stop. I walked for hours. The world around me began to blur. Not in motion, but in logic. Trees grew sideways. Mailboxes whispered names. Streetlights blinked in Morse code I almost remembered from dreamless nights. And above it all, the sky was flat like a ceiling someone forgot to paint. I walked until I arrived at a building I didn't recognize, but knew like I'd been there before. The central depot, where couriers don't just drop off packages, they drop off themselves. Inside, the floor was a mosaic of lost names. I saw mine, not the one I use now, not the one on my birth certificate. The real one. The one I'd only heard whispered in dreams and rule cards. I stepped over it and kept walking. The halls narrowed. The ceilings lowered. The air pressed in like hands on my shoulders, gently reminding me, this is the end of the route. In the center of the room, I found a mirror, not like the others. This one wasn't cracked or haunted. This one was still, too still. Like a photograph taken by something that never blinks. I looked inside, and there was no one there. Not me, not the other versions, not even her. Just the room, just the mirror, just absence. Then a light turned on behind me, flickering, fluorescent, familiar. A voice spoke, the same one from the clipboard room, the one that narrated promotions and final stops. Like weather updates. You've reached your terminus. All deliveries confirmed. All packages accepted. Please confirm identity for final reflection. I swallowed. Who do I confirm to? The voice didn't answer. Instead, the mirror blinked once, then twice, and then it spoke. You delivered everything except the thing you buried. The voice was mine, but older. Twisted by memory and regret. What did I bury? I asked. The reflection stared, then pointed, and the wall behind me melted away. A dirt road, night, pine trees. A smell I'd nearly forgotten. Metal, rain, gasoline. The crash site, the first real one. Not the story the doctors told me. Not the one the police reported. The truth. 2 cars. Twisted, flames licking at broken glass, and there me, standing in the wreckage, not bleeding, not screaming, delivering. The driver of the other car, a mother, 3 kids in the back. I was holding something in my hands, a package, wrapped in soaked clothes and whispering steam. I placed it by the side of the road, kissed the lid, walked away. The reflection stepped through the mirror, not broken, not flickering, just walked through like the glass was air. It was me, exactly me. Same face, same voice, only it spoke with absolute certainty. You buried the guilt, it said. You called it a job, so you didn't have to call it murder. I stepped back. No, that wasn't. You carried the wrong thing. And now, it's been carrying you. I turned to run. The depot warped into staircases made of memories. Each one a delivery I didn't want to remember. The woman with the sewn eyes. The boy who smiled too wide. The parcel that bled when I picked it up. The door labeled for her that I never opened in time. I tripped, fell through layers of myself, each one peeling off like packaging, until there was nothing left but the box. One last time, waiting at my feet, I opened it. Inside, not a mirror, not a rule card, just a pair of eyes, hers, looking up at me, alive, blinking, mouth opening as if to ask, "Why did you leave me there?" And I broke, right there, on the floor of whatever place this was, depot. Hell. Memory I broke. The voice returned. Final confirmation complete. Route fully integrated. And my mouth, unprompted, whispered, "I'm ready to carry it now." I said, but the moment the words left my mouth, I knew, "You're never ready." Not for what comes next. Not for the last stop. Because the final delivery isn't something you make. It's what you become. The depot collapsed behind me. Or maybe it folded in into itself. Into me. Into the route that never had a true beginning. I stood alone in the dark, holding the final package. Small, weightless, but so heavy I couldn't lift my eyes. It pulsed like it had a heartbeat. Or maybe that was mine. Couldn't tell the difference anymore. And etched onto the lid, not in ink, not in blood, but in memory, were 3 words. Return to sender. So I walked, back through the roads I thought I'd escaped, back past the places I'd left versions of myself behind. The alley with the burning trash can, the diner where the waitress blinked too slow, the house with the breathing floorboards. Everything was still there, but emptier, like time had passed through it too many times, wearing it thin. Even the shadows didn't bother chasing me anymore. They knew where I was going. It took me back to the woods. Of course it did. To the place where the route had rewritten me the first time. To the altar. The clearing was quiet, still, but it watched. I placed the box on the stone. My hands shook. Not from fear, from recognition. The altar pulsed. The trees leaned closer, and somewhere, deeper in the woods, the chanting started again. Low, inhuman, but familiar. I took a breath and opened the box. Inside was a photo, faded, torn at the edges. It showed a boy me standing in front of a house I didn't recognize, smiling, holding a package, but it wasn't the smile I remembered. It was his, the reflections, wide, too calm. Behind the boy in the photo was her, small, blurred, like she was already starting to fade out of the memory. I flipped the photo over, written in handwriting that was barely mine anymore. The first delivery is always the one you pretend never happened. And beneath that, one more line. She never stopped waiting. A second box slid out from beneath the photo, unmarked, unsealed. Inside, a mirror, cracked once, diagonally, like a lightning bolt through the glass. But the reflection was clear, and it wasn't me. It was her, older now, eyes lined with sleep and time, but still her. She looked right at me and spoke. No sound. Just movement of lips I knew better than my own. "It's your turn." Then she stepped through the mirror, into the clearing, and I felt something leave me, like a breath I'd been holding since that first knock. like a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. She stood in front of me, looked at the altar, at the box, at the cracked mirror, then at me. I remember it all now. She said, "Do you?" I wanted to nod, wanted to speak, but all I could do was kneel. 'Cause that's what couriers do when they finish the route. They don't clock out. They don't retire. They kneel. And wait, she lifted the box, closed the lid, and said something I'll never forget. "You were never supposed to deliver me." Then she placed the box back on the altar, and I understood what came next. The sky split open, not like lightning, more like a zipper, a seam tearing back across everything I thought was real, and from it poured them, all the reflections, all the past roots, all the versions of me that had been swallowed and forgotten and repurposed into memory and guilt and story. They circled the altar, chanting without mouths, drumming with hands that had carried too much, and I stood, not by choice, by design, 'cause the route doesn't end when you finish the last delivery. It ends when you become the story they tell the next courier. The mirror hovered now, not held, just suspended in the air, its cracks glowing, the faces behind it pushing forward, and I was one of them. Already, even though I was still standing. Already, even though I hadn't stepped inside yet. Already, because the route isn't somewhere. The route is what you are after. It takes everything, and as I looked down at my hands, I saw the edges blur, my fingerprints smudged, my veins glowing with instruction, my skin wrapping itself in red twine. Packaging. She walked away without looking back, disappearing into a part of the woods that hadn't existed until she remembered it. And I stayed, still, silent, waiting, because that's the rule. The final rule, carved now into the altar stone itself. One line, bleeding with every new courier who reads it. Rule 20, once delivered, do not follow. Once forgotten, do not return. Once replaced, remain still, somewhere. A phone buzzes. A lanyard tightens around a fresh neck. An address appears on a screen. A door creaks open, and another version of you picks up the box, not knowing that inside, you're already waiting. End of route. Delivery complete. Thank you for carrying us.